Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another Fired Up Friday with Candidly Tip and I. We are so glad that you joined us today. And please hit the whatever platform you're viewing us on, hit those hearts and the like buttons, help the algorithm, help us to grow our reach. We're so glad that you are joining us here today. And, being that it is February 6th, we're in the beginning of Black History Month. And I, kind of talked to Tiff a little bit. One of the things I wanted to get into was the just aggressive attempts at erasure of our Black and Indigenous history. And it is really sickening, but it is probably one of the reasons too that I lean into history. I'm a bit of a history nerd and have a lot of friends who are historians because it really is important. And I think that is part of the problem of how we keep coming back to these same issues in our country is because people don't know our history. People continue. I really detest hearing people say, this is not America or this is not who we are. Like, really, that tells me you don't know our history, because it's
Exactly.
exactly who we are. It's just playing out really, really loud now. But most Black people in this country understand this is who we really are. And we don't want, it's not who we should be and what the founding documents, purport us to be. And it is why Martin Luther King talks about bending that moral arc so we can get closer to the promise of America, you know? So
Right.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of that, Tiff.
No, I agree with you. I think the concept of this is not America. Actually, this is America, and this is what the foundation, like you said, of the Constitution of America was built upon the premise that there was not equal rights. I mean, there just wasn't. So we went from a period of slavery to then we went to to then having a period of like reconstruction, and then we get Jim Crow, and I don't know what you want to call what we are in right now.
Reconstruction 2.0 or Jim Crow 2.0.
It's kind of like a mix of everything put together, and so we have a time frame where I feel like it starts in 2008 until now, because I was reading articles. Like you said, I love history, and I was kind of going back in time because someone mentioned, just primaries as we're talking through different primaries, and I was like, well, you do realize that in 2008 there was a racially, it was a race. I hate using the word racially charged, but it was. I mean, Obama was running Hillary, and they were going back and forth because people were saying racist things. So this is everything that's happening now has happened before. It's like, but why have we not learned our lessons from those things? And
Well,
that is the part that I think that we are regressing in. We're regressing back to a time where people want to be the boss, to be in charge of the Democratic Party. Yes, their Democratic Party once was the party of Jim Crow. And
mhm.
then we had the Dixiecrats, and then things started to shift, and those people that were not happy with the civil rights movement moved to the Republican Party. People love to forget that. They try to say, well, the Democrats were the ones who were doing Jim Crow and were enslaved people. Like we don't know the history of what happened, and
Because history continues. It doesn't, it's not stagnant.
it's not stagnant, and we see the impacts of Obama winning, and then there's the before, and I feel like there's the after of Obama winning, and we have gone through different iterations of this. We obviously, Joe Biden was elected, but now we're with this man 2.0 once again, and he is insanely racist. Today what he posted was racist.
Was
And
it, are you talking about the picture of the
yeah,
pre that is disgusting. And this is again, like, don't tell me that everything isn't about race in this country.
Right.
Because every time Black people start to gain any prominence or power, it all comes flowing out. And that is the same kind of imagery. It's one of the reasons why I don't like Blackburn, because when she was in the state house, when he was elected president, her and Black Representative Black, they had a lot of racist memos and emails and things being exchanged with a lot of disgusting racist imagery attached, like monkeys and things like that. And they did that throughout the Obama's presidency. I mean, what they tried to do to the first lady, and they still continue
And they,
to
I mean,
do it.
she was the thing is in that imagery, in that picture, she was out in front, and it just plays onto what the racists are saying and how they are doing. And this is not new. Again, we talk about history. Ronald Reagan literally was calling people, monkeys, apes, whatever you want to call it, gorillas. I don't know, whatever animal you want, that whatever, whichever one you want to use. This was noted. This is something that's a fact, right? He wasn't an outright, like, loud in your face racist, but Trump is. He doesn't care. And the people that try to defend his racism are the problem. I did see Tim Scott say, he was like, this is like the worst thing that whatever. I don't care what you say, Tim Scott. You have allowed this to go on. You know this man is racist. You suck up to him. You have enjoyed, getting his endorsements. You have enjoyed being by his side at rallies. So don't give me that. There's no way that you can go through Trump's history and not see that he is racist. I mean, this is a known fact, right? He's many things, but he is most definitely racist.
Yes, and
And
anybody trying to whitewash
yeah,
that or soften it is out of their mind, and they don't want us to believe what we see, to believe our own eyes, what he says and what he does, you know?
yeah. And it's not that Trump is racist towards one group, or he's racist towards every group. I mean, we see it with the Latinos, you guys, that he doesn't like you either. You're not.
The epitome of white supremacy,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, if you're not white, you're not right for him.
exactly. And so, like you said, they've since they've come back. I mean, Pete Hegseth and his stupidity over at the Department of Defense, he kind of started with this, and then it was DEI, and we, over the last year and some change now, it's just progressively getting worse. And he has control of his phone. He knows I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but I'm pretty sure he has the phone in his hand, and he's picking what he wants to post, right? Whether you believe he's demented or not, that's not an excuse for racism. So the man has said and done things that are blatantly racist. I think there are racists and there are blatantly racist people, and Trump is a blatantly racist person. He doesn't care if people call him racist. He will deny he's a racist and say, oh, it was just a joke. Okay, well, people have to use discernment and realize that this is not a joke. This is who this man is. And it trickles down. That racism trickles down to his base, which already are racist to many of them themselves. And now it's reverberated throughout the governments. It's reverberated through the people that support him. And they are very loud and proud to be racist. But then when you call them out, then they get mad. And that racism is not just limited to Republicans. I mean, it has extended to the Democratic Party as well. So
Exactly. Like I said, white
there.
supremacy crosses party lines.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
It's not just related to one party. There's definitely more than what people are just getting really bold with it. I mean, they just really are, and they don't care. And then they try to spin it and say, oh, but we need to stop talking about identity politics, as though whiteness is not an identity. Although being a Christian, being a man is all part of an identity that you created. The working class is an identity. Classism in itself is an identity. So you can't stop using that as a way to be like, okay, well, we don't want to talk about race in this country. No, you actually do want to talk about race. You just don't want to talk about Black people, representation for Black people. That's what you don't want to talk about.
Exactly. And that is the whole thing. They display it, but they do not want to be called on it. In fact, there was, Phil Williams does a lot of great reporting on, hate and racism in our state. And there was a period, I think it was maybe two legislative sessions ago, when he was interviewing some of the Republican lawmakers. And they literally said, it was when all of the stuff was going on with the Tennessee Three, and they threw, both the black guys out. And the problem they have with Justin Jones is that, like, he calls them racist, and they don't like to be called that. And he was like, well, we'd rather be called bigots or whatever. Like, you are what you are, dude. It doesn't matter what we call you. And the thing of it is that, as you said, like with people like Tim Scott, trying to soften it, maybe speaking out at certain moments, that is not helpful, because you're enabling all of the racist laws and the vitriol to grow. And it's only when it gets to something that maybe you don't like or you feel is too blatant. And I think that's really kind of the major deal that's going on with most of these people that support him. They know he's racist. Some of them are racist. I'm not saying all of them are, but they're okay with it.
Yeah, they
And
have,
they don't,
have
yeah.
no problem. Yeah, they have, like I said, silence is complicity. Many of them are, there's the silence people that condone the racism, but then you also have the people who are also loud and proud and out there just saying whatever they want to say, and then, like you said, get offended when you call them out. Again, this is not unique to one specific party. This is a issue. This is an American issue. Racism
Yes.
is an American issue, and it crosses party lines, it crosses gender, and the young people, old people, anybody in this country can be racist. It does Your affiliation to a party doesn't decide whether or not you are a racist. And I think that is the part that a lot of these people on the left are missing, because we're trying to call it out. We're like, no, we see what you're saying. We see what you are trying to do and trying to which it just feels like they want to be centered in the conversation, but instead of asking, like talking to us and having conversations and trying to work together, it's like, no, you do it our way, or there's no other way. Like James Carville, for instance, with his hum and sway bullshit. You know what I'm saying? He's like, well, did you hear about this hum and
Yeah,
sway?
yes, and I was in, the big three, you guys, his
Oh, right,
conversation.
you were definitely there. I forgot about that. You were definitely there, and which ended up getting me in trouble, but not really. But the hum and sway thing is a perfect example of just the issues with the left. And I wouldn't even say, when I say the left, it's more the Democratic Party type thing. There's the leftists, but on the left specifically, you have these older white men who they just say stuff, and you just scratching your head like, do you realize that the base of the party is Black women, Black people? Like, what are you even thinking to say? Well, we can go two white people can be on the ticket, and okay, fine. You want, if people wanted to have and vote for a white person to be the Democratic nominee, and they decide that they want to pick a white person, there is literally nothing that we could do about it other than not vote for them. It is always a possibility, but then to throw in about a fish fry and the humming and swaying, and it's like, okay, dude, you sound so out of touch to reality of what the situation is. Because if there is likely a Black person, a Latino person, a white person on this ballot, the people in South Carolina and Georgia, North Carolina, and the rest of the southern states will make a choice on who they believe is the best candidate, and they will use proper discernment to figure out who that is. They're not, and black people are not going to make a decision about who they're going to vote for lightly. They're going to look at all of the candidates and decide which one they want, the same way they did in 2020 when there was what, umpteenth freaking people in the race, and they said Joe Biden was the person that they felt was the best person to beat Donald Trump. And that's not a Southern thing, that it was people in the North as well who
It
thought that.
it's a black thing because we do use discernment, and I know people hate that term, for, voting for harm reduction, but that is how we have always moved, because we have never gotten, our wish list, everything on it. We don't even operate like that because we know the real world doesn't, but we're always looking out for our community and the human community writ large. Like, we don't just think about ourselves, and we recognize how certain policies, while they may not affect us in a negative way, members of our community and the greater diaspora will. And when it affects us, it will affect other people too, white people too, white women too. And that's the part that a lot of people just don't get, and I just am really sick of this trend since Madam VP started running, and for people to still, like, say with a straight face today that it wasn't about racism. Like, what planet are you? I mean, it was all about racism and misogyny, and that white supremacy is steeped in it, which is what Project 2025 was all about.
Right. Day after the election, when I knew that she had lost, I made a post and I said, this was a white lash. They were pissed off about DEI. They were pissed off about 2020. They were pissed off about everything that happened with George Floyd. They were very upset with everything. And then add on the fact that the candidate that we had was a black woman. And that part of it, the white lash is not just from white people. Latinos were also part of that. Because they feed into that white supremacy. Like,
They want to be that white adjacency.
I feel like we need to start being honest about these things, but people don't want to have honest conversations because instead they would rather be offended. Like, they're very upset about the fact that Jasmine Crockett said that they pretty much, not, she didn't say it verbatim that they do. She didn't say all Latinos, but she said that a lot of them have like the slave master mentality. And the truth of the matter is, I've been saying that for years about Latinos. My family's Latino. I understand.
You know your people. Like,
and I know the things that they have said to me as a Black Latina, as somebody who is darker skin, about my hair, color as shit my whole life, telling me that I act like a Black girl. Like, what the hell? These are things that I've heard all my life. So you're not telling me anything that I don't already know in how you people think and what you are trying to do, which is, again, be a part of a power system. This is about a power structure. You see that the top of the power structure is white people. You want to be a part of that system, but you will never be part of that system. And unfortunately, that is coming back to bite them in the ass because of what we're seeing on our streets today with ICE. It wasn't like they weren't warned. Like you said, there was Project 2025. Those people were at that convention with those signs talking about lock up the immigrants. And you thought they were just going to go after the criminals? No, you chose to believe the power structure of whiteness and believe that they were only going to do it to the people that were criminals. All along, we're on the sidelines over here telling you, no, it's going to be every freaking body that is an immigrant, whether you're white, and now white immigrants are impacted too, Black, or you are a Latino. Like, they're coming for you, and everyone in between, right? We knew they were coming for all immigrants.
well, because the bottom line is, this is not true, even really about security at the border or anywhere else, or really about immigration. You know what it's about and what it's always about in this country, which is what it was founded on, is money. Like
Right.
the immigration system, this I am working on a Substack that I will have published shortly after we get off. I've been proofing it, but it's tied to money, like these private prisons. And I have one in my backyard. The private prison industry was birthed here in Tennessee in the 80s, in the early 80s. And it is all about money. And this is why history is important, because it is the same concepts that this country was built on, like on carceral, a carceral type of economy. I mean, enslavement, from the beginning was all about the Civil War over the Southern economy, which was on the backs of enslaved people.
Right.
And once we were emancipated, they lost their mind, but they got okay because they figured out a way that they could still continue to do that through things like sharecropping and Black laws, Jim Crow laws that allowed them to lock up Black people for minor offenses, like vagrancy or whatever. And once they were locked up, it did two things. And these systems are still at work today. It took away their voting rights, okay?
Mhm.
And it also allowed them to be leased out to make money, because convict leasing was an economy that grew after, emancipation. And today it is no different. These detention centers are money making centers. They are the new plantations. They get money for the bodies in there. And one of the testimonies that we heard, I don't know if you listened to it, but I've listened to several of those, and I'm so glad that the Dems had that forum. It was heartbreaking to hear, but these things too need to be recorded in our history. But this one woman's testimony who had been taken by ICE, and she was disabled, which is just totally disgusting. But she talked about how they didn't refer to them as people or, subjects, or they refer to them as bodies,
Yeah.
like just really humanizing people. And that is what has always been done by those who wish to profit off of the confinement of others. And it's steeped in our history. And that is why our history is important. And they don't want to tell about that part. They want to use the excuse of healing the nation. No, first of all, it's an excuse for you to escape accountability,
Exactly.
but it's also a pathway for you to bring this crap back again in a different form, because this is the same thing. They're using new tools, but it's the same system that has been in place in this country since its founding.
I mean, these people want to put people in manufacturing buildings. I mean, they were stopped here because they were trying to put one like 15 or 20 minutes from my house. So
Mhm.
our county executive, not mine, I mean, when Maryland is like you literally in one county, the next minute you're in the next
Right.
county. We are very close to one another. So while it's in the next county, I'm watching Rachel Maddow. I didn't even know about this, and I was so glad that she highlighted the fact that County Executive Calvin Ball, who's the neighboring county, he pulled the contract. I mean, they like basically I guess they needed to get like permits and stuff, and he was like, no, I'm not giving you. We're revoking your permits, and you're not going to build this there. We have another one in Western Maryland that Westmore is trying to stop, as well as other people there. So you're starting to see where they want to. It's like they want to throw thousands of people into these facilities that are not meant to house people. They are meant to house products. They are
But see, there again, there's the connection, because
right.
they view them as product. It increases
It's
their bottom line.
like they like people. I mean, like animals. That's the way they look at these people because
Chattel slavery, just
yeah,
a new version.
And don't get it twisted that if you think that people that we don't honestly, there's such a backlog within the system that some of these people that are undocumented, you may not know anything about what's happening with these people, because where are the people that were in alligator Alcatraz? Like, no
Yeah.
one knows where those people are. For all we know, they are out there working. They are enslaved. We don't know what they're doing. Yeah, slavery is no longer in America, but let's be real about this. They could potentially take those people and put them to work, right? The slave labor is a real thing in prisons, and these
Mhm.
people are incarcerated.
Well, speaking of which, Core Civic has had several, and Geo as well, but Core Civic specifically, I know about it because, like I said, it's in my backyard. Have had lawsuits that they have settled, some for big dollars and others for just making and tweaking um, changes in what they call the things, but literally enslaving people to do cleaning, to do other things that they profited from, but the prisoners did not get any compensation for those things. Again, convict labor, it's just a new form of convict labor, in which all of it is about money. And I really am enjoying, I appreciate Maddow, because she has been reporting on this for some time, because I watch her. um, about all the places they are trying to put these facilities. And now, even in a lot of red states and red districts, they don't want that. Like I said, they as soon as they start talking about putting it in their backyard, not in my backyard,
Of course.
and I wonder how Marsha Blackburn would feel, because Core Civic is headquartered in her hometown, Governor Lee's hometown. I don't hear them talking about putting a detention center
Well, you
there.
well, you saw, well, I think, was it Roger Wicker, one of the senators, I think, was, he said he didn't want it in his, they were trying to do a warehouse and he said no.
Mhm.
So I mean, he acted for once, a Republican actually kind of got it right. He was like, it was a warehouse, and he said this is not a place where humans should be there. I mean, you wouldn't even put dogs there.
Yeah.
Like, you would just have a whole bunch of dogs. People. The thing is, the thing with I don't know if you saw this other story about the woman at the DOJ who basically told the judge to lock her up for contempt because she was overworked, and she was like, put me in jail for 24 hours because
No, I missed that one.
she said they were in court and in Minnesota, and the judge was telling, because they weren't responding, they weren't doing the things that the judge told them to do. So she told the judge, listen, I am so tired that you could just lock me up because I need sleep, so I can go to jail for 24 hours to get some rest because I am overworked. They're overworking the system, basically breaking the system from the inside and out. This is what they're doing, because you can't lock up thousands and thousands of so-called thousands and thousands of people who aren't even sometimes people who are criminals, that you're just locking them up because you have an issue with with them protesting, or you thought that they were a criminal and they really weren't, and then so you are now jamming the court system. Not enough lawyers in the DOJ to handle this. These are all federal cases. There is not enough judges. We know that there's not enough immigration judges at the border. Hence, why there are so many people who are just waiting for their court date, and then people go to the court date, and then they're locking them up. The whole point of the reason why these people who may have crossed and were waiting for asylum, why they just are just there waiting for a court case, because there wasn't anywhere to put them. They just let them go.
Yeah, it's a backlog, and as you said, as in many things, these things are tied together. Like, they're um, purposely breaking the system, but they profit from that too. It's
True.
kind of like with elections, them seizing, the voting rolls down in Fulton. I mean, they started as soon as he lost about election integrity, and it was always a dog whistle for them to get to this place of doing messing with our elections and making people think that there was a problem. And the whole election integrity thing is, they really are good at kind of naming issues, like even when they are not a real issue, and making people think there was a problem, but there wasn't. I mean, their own people said it was the most, secure election that we ever had.
Matter.
But they do what they do by naming something an issue, a prop, saying it's problematic, and then they start breaking all the levers and throwing sand in there and mucking things up so that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So now there are problems with it, but you created the problems, and now you want to be the answer and the savior to the problem that you created. It's a sight, a head sight that they continue to do.
The thing is that they're screaming about voter ID, voter ID. You have to have voter ID. Georgia has voter ID. So the issue that you have created, where you're saying that illegal people are voting in these elections, or there's some kind of issue with the vote tabulation or whatever it is that they are accusing the Democrats. And mind you, Georgia's government in the Secretary of State was and is a Republican. This
Yes.
The governor was and is a Republican. And they purposely are targeting Fulton County because why? Majority Black. They know that that's where a majority of those votes came from. And God knows what they're going to do with that data. And unfortunately, there is really feels like there's no recourse and there's no way to stop them from doing it. And then you also have Steve Bannon saying, well, we have to stop these people because they're gonna do this all over again. So it's like the propaganda that goes along with it. It's like multifaceted, right? You have they stole the election. Then it's like, okay, no, they really didn't steal the election. We had many court cases, they lose in court. Trump is still saying he is president again, and he's still saying that the election was stolen. He cannot get this out of his head because it is a field to allow the next election and the next one after that to be jaded. Like, people are jaded about elections, and now everything is people are skeptical. There's conspiracy theories. If you lose, then it means that it was stolen. And I do blame partially on that Bernie Sanders, because he started that shit with that rig bullshit back in 2016, and Elizabeth Warren helped him with that. And Trump just basically took that and was like, okay, well, let me see how I can use this to my advantage. And he did in 2020.
Yeah, and he also, Viktor Orban, used "Stop the Steal" actually in Hungary. So they also work very closely with him, and have taken a lot of his playbook in changing Hungary's democracy as well. But you're right with Bernie and Elizabeth, and I do think that it creates a type of distrust and a type of apathy, and we have many things that come that we're dealing with, that even people supposedly on our side, the Democratic side, or the side for democracy, who do that as well. Because I view those big influencers who continue to bash the Dems and have a lot of smoke for them, um, as problematic as well. Because while some of what you say may have truth, very often there is no context given to it, and it gets people to a place of they're both the same. No, I mean, you can say politics is nasty, but Democrats and Republicans in this moment is apples and oranges. They are not the same. There's a lot of the same issues that happen, but our election system could use some work. Kind of like our immigration system. Like, first of all, like let's get to a place where we get rid of that electoral college, because
I
Black
mean,
people have always been.
many. If somebody put me in a room and said, what could change, like what could be changed in this country, I would be the first one to say, get rid of the electoral college system, because you are actually disenfranchising a ton of people because people in blue states, they become apathetic. Why? Because they know that their blue state is going to be blue, or at least they hope it's going to be blue for a long-term period, right? New York, New Jersey, we saw New Jersey was much closer than it needed to be. Maryland, people turned out here, but they didn't turn out as much as they did in 2020. People become apathetic when they know that the people in their states are going to vote. But if you truly believe that your vote is going to make the difference, maybe you have a different understanding or feeling about voting. I don't know, I could be wrong, but the systems in this country also are not helpful. So there are major things. Like you said, I absolutely would love to have immigration reform, real immigration reform,
Mhm.
but also Democrats can't be afraid to have that conversation either, right? They can't
Right.
move away from it. Yes, we need to. Do we need to abolish ICE? Yes, we need something different. We have to stop being scared to say the real things that are happening. I know there's not a we don't
Yeah.
have open borders. We don't want open borders. We
We
want
need
to
to
be
reimagine a lot of the systems that have been in place, but like, ICE and DHS, those are relatively new in our system of governance. And I feel like they could be addressed and changed and reimagined very quickly, but, the Electoral College, I know that's another.
that's a relic of the past, and that's much harder to get rid of, right? You
Mhm,
But also, there's also what we talk about consistently about the civics piece of it, right? To
mhm,
change systems, you need to have majorities in our government, in the Congress. You need to have it in, and you need to have the presidency, and you also need to get the court back because we all know that's the end place, right? It's not the
mhm,
start, that's the end. So when you get to where people are not understanding how things work. Like people are fighting with me, like, we need to abolish ICE. I'm like, I listen, I am with you. I am 100% with you that it needs to be abolished. But I also understand the civics piece of it. In order to abolish it, you would need to get a majority in the Congress. You would
mhm.
need to also have a president to be able to, that it is a cabinet. You have a cabinet and there is a DHS person, and they all need to get together and say, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore, right?
Mhm,
There is so many things that can be done, but we also need to have the majorities to do it. Someone said the term limits for Supreme Court. Yes, I am most of the things that these progressive people want, I am for them. But I also understand the path that is needed to get them
you're
done.
pragmatic and you're civically aware, and that's the thing. The same with me. Like, I don't disagree with the policies and the things that they want. I just don't think that the path in which they are trying to get there is politically strategic, and what it does is it keeps us stuck and fighting with one another, and that is really what we have to kind of get past in this moment, because truly at this moment, like, if you're still picking at Dems and you all have a lot of smoke for Republicans and what they're doing, or it's like the Dems are letting them do this, you've lost the plot. Like, right now we are fighting an autocratic takeover, okay, and there is only one party that can stop that from happening. Now, you can be petty if you want to about the members and about what they are doing and haven't done in the past and all of this stuff, but I know that those members want to retain a democracy. And, whether or not you like all the things about this democracy is another topic and issue. But that's the thing. When you vet your candidates and you are civically engaged, you can communicate and get representation to help you go about making those changes. And I do think that Democrats do not need to, be afraid to talk about those things, because I do think that is part of how they will connect with people, is instead of, like, combating the Republican propaganda, because I feel like that keeps them on the back foot in a defensive mode. Like, speak to people about the vision that you have, because the vision, the Democratic vision, is more embracing of humanity and our population at large. And the vision for the Republican Party is only for a few elite at the top to really have that uh, life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The rest of us are just supposed to work to help support that for
Right.
them. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I think that's the part that bothers me, right? Is that it's like, why can't we listen, like you said, we're gonna have issue, we're not gonna always love the same candidate. When I think of Texas, we're not gonna all like agree maybe who the best candidate is, but the voters at the end of the day will decide who they think is, whether it is Jasmine, whether it is Talarico, the voters get to decide. We can argue about, what we the qualifications of the candidate. We can argue about what people think about a candidate. I mean, a lot of times they're just making it personal. Oh, it's a vanity campaign, da 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 da. And stop telling us it's about that we want Jasmine because she's black. Like, I don't want Jasmine to be a senator because she's a black woman. That would be nice, but it's not because I want her to be the senator because she's black. I want her to be a senator because she's fierce. She says what
she's
we are
qualified.
thinking, right? She's qualified. We know that. I mean, it gets her in trouble sometimes, right? Because she says it too bluntly, but people are like, okay, well, that is like a problem more so. But at the same time, these same people are like, well, we need candidates that are authentic. You cannot have it both ways. You want an authentic candidate that you can control. There is a difference. You don't want authenticity.
You want one that won't hurt your feelings.
You want them to fit in a box that you have created on how candidates are supposed to act, and what will not make the white people in Texas upset, or the Latinos upset, for telling them the truth about how the hell they act. So you don't really want an authentic candidate, because if you wanted authenticity, then you would accept Jasmine for who she is and what she's trying to do. Maybe at some point you say, okay, well, this could cause some kind of harm with this community. Okay. But maybe that community needs to hear the freaking truth, like I said, about what it is that they are doing and who they are harming. Because somebody has to start telling the truth. Like, you cannot keep
We can't
catering to these people.
we
Like,
can't keep avoiding that conversation. It is a very uncomfortable conversation for us to have, but people do need to understand how they vote against their own interest, and how they have these biases that kind of conditioned in, because as you said, wanting to tap into the power, you know, and they see that path with white people, with, and if that's a Republican, what have you, some of them will go that way. And if it's, between Democratic candidates, a lot of times they will see that white candidate as their path to power more so than the black person, because we have had our entire history had these narratives told about us. And even though, like, we can see with our own eyes that they're not true, it doesn't mean that some of that stuff hasn't seeped into the psyche of some people. And I mean, for me, it was very revealing. I want to believe the best in people. Like, I want to have allies from, other demographics and things. But again, after this last election, and people to, say that it wasn't about race, and it's like, okay, you can keep lying to yourself, but stop lying to my face,
right.
because
Playing in
you
my
know
face. Like we say, they're constantly playing in our face. And it's to the point where I'm just so sick of it. Like Sharon said, a lot of it, what is revealing what we've already known about how people within the Democratic Party feel about the base of the party. They don't see the fact that 92% of black women showed up at the polls as something positive to say, you know what, let's work with them. Let's try to figure out their strategies. What No, it's instead, let's beat down your candidate and let's talk.
Let's not lean into
Oh,
identity
yeah,
politics.
let's not lean into that identity politics. And also, let's lie on people like these people want to lie on me or Kenny or whomever. Like, it becomes a very personal kind of thing where now it feels like you're they're not listening. Like the dude Keith Edwards, he was literally on a live with black women and a black man, and they were trying to tell him why he was wrong, and the man would not listen for nothing. Nothing would he listen to. He is going after Roland Martin. Roland Martin is like, listen, I am from Texas. I went to school here. I vote here. I've lived here. You don't live here. So how are you going to tell me, a black man from Texas, who is going to win when your ass hasn't even stepped foot in Texas to even talk to anyone in the electorate? There are people in Texas are telling you there is a pathway for Jasmine to win. Listen to us and maybe you'll understand. But no, they will not listen to logic. They will not listen to have understanding. It's just one ear out the other. I've made up my mind. This is the way I see it. And then when you try, then everything gets into, but you think that I'm racist. I did not call, I don't even have to call you a racist. I never even called you a racist. They're like, Roland Martin called me. No, he did not call you a racist. He said you need to open your freaking ears and listen to the people who are in this state, who understand elections, who are journalists, who are people on the ground talking to folks. But no, that's too much to ask. And it just reminds me so much of, like, I hate to say, like Pennsylvania in 2022, where people were just not listening. And look at the freaking Shrek nightmare that you've created with John Fetterman. For fuck's sake, I'm sorry for cursing, but like, you were warned. The goal of that election was not that primary was not because we loved Connor Lamb or we thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. We saw that the risk that John Fetterman was, and we said, okay, we have to stop him. It wasn't even about Pennsylvania. It was about stopping him because we saw that man chased somebody, a black man, with a freaking shotgun. And folks were just, oh no, it doesn't matter. The person said what?
Exactly. Kind of like the one they got running up there in Maine now with his Nazi tattoos and all kinds of excuses. Like, y'all better vet. I can't vote in Maine, but y'all better do the work and vet your candidates so you're not electing a Nazi to Congress. But again, like I said, I am very offended because, as you said, with the Republicans, like, they appreciate their base. They know how to talk to their base. When the base start getting angry about things, they listen to them because they know those are the votes that got them there. And that is what I don't understand about a lot of the Democratic strategists and consultants or whatever. It's like, the numbers don't lie. Black women are the base of the Democratic Party, have been for a very, very long time. Yet you don't want to listen to them. You want to tell them, but they are the ones who continue to vote. And they are the ones who continue to do a lot of the work, because I know, as a Black woman, I am civically engaged, and in elections around me in the past, did a lot of work. You help raise money. I know that you do. I know many others that do. So you just want to ignore us because, again, that white superiority thinking has you thinking we don't know what we're talking about. Like, we're good enough for the vote and for the work, but we're not good enough to lead. Do you hear yourselves? Like,
Right.
you're not literally saying that, but you
When
are
you hear
saying that.
it's like the dog whistles are all there. Like,
And it's very insulting.
yeah, and I think for myself, like 2022, I spent so much time like trying to raise money. We had two black women that were running for the Senate, and we raised over $100,000 to try to
Yeah.
help them get elected. I'm not doing that now. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with my personal life and also deal with politics, to have to deal with the stupidity of these white men that keep coming at us sideways. I don't have the wherewithal that I used to have for politics. And that comes from trying to diminish our voices and trying to keep making it be something that is no longer fun for me. It's not politics is not fun for me anymore, and it's not supposed to be like a fun thing. But if you're going to do the work, you have to have a passion for it. You have to be able to want to get out there and take your spare this is your spare time. You're not being paid for it. It's not a
Right.
job. It feels like a job, but it's not a job, right? I mean, think about it. You were doing these shows, you were doing Advocacy Arena every day,
Mm-hmm.
every single day. You don't have the bandwidth to do that anymore. Why? Because
No.
you're beating us down so much, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. We are so beaten down that we don't have the time or the patience to do this. When it gets time to vote, yeah, we're going to vote. We're going to go support our candidates. We're going to go to events and do the things that we need to do. But I don't think the enthusiasm is there because it doesn't feel like we're appreciated.
Exactly. That's it exactly. You expressed so much of what I was feeling before we got on this call. It was like, I mean, for me, it's a necessity. Like I do it because it's important, because I care. I'm a veteran. Like I volunteer to put my life on the line for this country. Like I love this country in a way that I know that it doesn't love me, but I do believe that, we, the people, I still believe in that aspect of it, and we have the ability to change it. So as long as I have breath, I will continue to work to do that. But my level of enthusiasm and the energy I devote to that has changed, because, as I said, to see the people that you are working for and with sometimes continue to take your work and ignore your voice and your concerns is very disheartening. And it that too comes with the history of this country, but we still continue to stay engaged, and we must and we will. But I just don't have the same energy
I don't
around it. I'm very
yeah.
selective in the things that I choose to do. But again, like I said, this is the country where I live, so I will continue to fight for it to be a democratic country and to try to make that democracy more embracing of everybody in the country. But it's hard fighting with the people who are supposed to be on your side.
That's the thing. Like you're the energy that I could be putting into helping a candidate. I am now spending time or talking about an issue. I'm now spending time trying to talk about what I said on a podcast 3 days ago. Like this is the stupidity of where we are because some white dude went and got some clip of me saying something that had nothing to do with anything. I mean, this is what we are wasting our time on because you're offended that I don't want to be with a white man. I'm sorry. Are you out of your damn mind? Like,
Okay.
this is where we are. And then got the nerve to then call me a bigot and all this other stuff. Listen, I don't care what you want to call me because at the end of the day, I know the time, the effort, and the work that I have done, not only to help Black candidates, but to help white candidates to do all the things that I need to do for democracy. This is not about you. I don't care about your feelings. This is not about feelings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything it feels like everything with most of these people is about feelings. And baby, I don't care about your goddamn feelings. I care about my rights. I care about making sure that my daughter has a future in this country. I care about my husband, that when he leaves my house that he is not going to be assaulted or harmed by the police. Like these are the things that I have to think about. And you maybe you have enough time on your hands because when you walk out the house, you don't have nothing to worry about.
Right.
You might be just that privileged that the time that you have is consumed with worrying about other people. But I don't
Mhm.
have that time nor that luxury. So this is the stuff that drives me insane about the current state of the Democratic Party. And it's hard to ignore it. And I know a lot of it is the discourse is online, but that does permeate to being in on the ground. And
Right.
when
People
you
take that away into their real life and they have conversations with people and then it starts to spread like a virus, you
and
know?
journalists pick up on the things that are happening on in the online discourse, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You I mean, the Texas race is insane, of course. I mean, we've all watching this play out, but then you start to see things that are actually a little, excuse me, a little bit positive, right? Because you have a race in New Jersey where people were thinking that Malinowski was going to win that race easily. Come to find out, the woman, I think her name is Analia, she is, I don't even know, she might have won right now, but she was not supposed to win. She spent like $215,000 on ads, but I saw her constantly on my damn screen, on my damn phone, doing interviews, talking to people. And that's what may have won her that race, because she was actually on the ground talking to people. And that would be a major upset. APAC spent a ton of money in that race to try to harm Tom Malinowski because they didn't like his foreign affairs, right? But in turn, because they didn't want people to vote for Tom, they did not vote for the candidate that they were trying to like get in there. They ended up getting the progressive lady who now may win. So a lot of this stuff that is happening, you cannot go, the negativity, it starts to bother people, especially in Democratic primaries. They don't want to see that anymore. The people on the ground, they would like to have a more unified party. They just would like to have it.
Mhm.
But there's too many people with their hands in the pot who are stirring up shit that does not need to be stirred. And it starts to feel like, okay, what is, does it come back to money? Does it come back to
Yeah, because I think a lot of
like,
money and influence.
yeah, the money and the influence, because people are being influenced with money to talk
Mhm.
negatively about the Democratic Party, and we need to
Mhm.
start recognizing that too.
Exactly. You're so right. And I know we're kind of almost out of time, but I wanted to talk a little bit about like what is going on here in Tennessee because we have, a governor's race and Marsha Blackburn is running and spending a lot of money, but there is an investigation that's been opened by Republicans against her about her financial dealings, like she's using her Senate um, pot of money to run for governor, and so we're going to see how that turns out. And I understand that when they had the recent votes in the House, that Mike Johnson had to work real hard on Representative Rose to get him to get on board. And I understand that part of that was him because he's running for governor as well. And he was mad that they weren't giving him enough attention. And that's when I saw the thing come out about her campaign. So I feel like he is wanting the administration to like kind of pick him as their candidate. And so that's going to be a mess just all on their side. But we have quite a few Democrats running, but one that I think is standout and very qualified is Jerry Green. And she has been working for the past year, over a year, literally going to every county in these small little cities. And the one I grew up in, my hometown is relatively small compared to some of the others, but she's gone there, and some of them she's making a second and a third stop. So that I think is very important, her getting out and talking to the people. And we saw how Acton Bain, even though she didn't win, how she moved the margins for the Democrats in this state. So I think Republicans are scared, but when they get scared, it's dangerous, I think, for us, just like the guy in the White House. When, he's backed into a corner, he starts doing crazy things. And my state is already one of those states that turned over their voting rolls, voluntarily. and they already do a ton of shit to suppress the votes. I can't imagine what they are going to do with those roles that they have. In addition to our state, our state motto, we're the volunteer state. Well, that really has come from volunteering to fight for our country, for democracy, and those types of things. But now we are volunteering to be the pilot program for state cooperation with ICE. And when I tell you, it's disgusting and it's scary. Like, they are putting forth bills here that will damn near make it impossible to live in this state as an immigrant. Like, they are trying to make every encounter that you could possibly have put a spotlight on you. And then they are forcing, we we've always had a few counties that volunteered, and not surprisingly, those are the counties that have steeped in enslavement and racism, that have always cooperated with ICE in that 287G program. But now we have like 40 that have signed it, and they are pushing legislation literally to force every county to sign this 287G. So to make every state have to cooperate with ICE, and to, sweeten the pot a little bit, they are giving them incentives, financial incentives. And for those who are holdouts, and of course, one of the long holdouts is my county, Davidson County, because it is, we have a Democratic mayor. So that is in part why they're trying to do this, to force him, because we also have a Democratic city council. And, so they want to make every county have to cooperate with ICE. And they also want to force hospitals, schools, like I said, any encounter that a person would have, any type of licensor, not just driver's license, but nursing license, or, professional license or whatever, have to report to, they have created an agency, okay, have to report these immigrant encounters, whether people are documented. And it's going to be ugly. And I just want to kind of let people know that when they are able to do this here, they will take it to other
Or
states.
you feel like your state is always the test case for what they want to do. And it's so interesting because my state is the actual opposite of what your state is trying to do on two fronts. One, this week, the House and the Maryland House and the Senate passed the bill that would eliminate 287G from all of our counties, right? They're not cool. They don't want to cooperate at all. So the governor said he was going to sign that. It also banned masks. Now I don't know how they're going to enforce that, but our legislature is trying to do something to stop this madness. And of course, Republicans are up in arms about it. But you know what? At this point, I don't care. Like I said, we have to do what is in the best interest of our people. And they always want to bring up all these, oh my God, there's so much crime. And they always bring up like these cases of they act like white Americans do not kill people. Okay. They really need to stop that shit, because there are plenty of white Americans and other Americans who
Most of the mass shootings, look at the demographics on that.
is not, and again, I don't have patience for that. But then the other thing that we're trying to do is to redistrict. So that was passed in the House last week, but it is now stuck in the Senate. And the Senate president does not want to move forward with the bill. Why? We don't know. We don't understand. He says that it's, a court, that he's scared about the courts, which I initially agreed with him on, because I'm like, okay, but that was back in like October, November. We have moved past this. They rolled out the new map, and the map does impact me personally because I would be moving to a different district. But I'm at the point where I'm like, listen, if it made it that far, the governor has agreed with it. The commission agreed with it. The House agreed with it. Only one Democrat did not vote for it. So what is stopping you from not only bringing the bill to the floor, but also having a debate about it. If they want to, if they want to vote for it to be a no, then put it on the record, because I
Mhm.
want that bill to stand as the bill that Bill Ferguson and the Maryland Senate defeated. I want that. That's what I want as a constituent. I want that to happen. You can own that. But all you're doing right now is helping to keep Andy Harris in office. And that to me is insane as a Democrat. And this is what we say about Democrats. Like, we can criticize them, we can, but I am not going to go out on my page and be like, F Bill Ferguson, this is a lesser of two E. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's literally about politics. I want him to do that. So, you know what? I actually got a phone call. Someone called me, which I never really answered those 1-800 numbers, but it was a Maryland number this time, but it was unknown. And it was someone calling me to say to ask me if I want to make a phone call to my state senator so that they can
Mhm.
move forward with this. You have to pressure these people to do this. We have one senator who stood up yesterday and said he's not voting for quorum unless they move forward with the bill. So the pressure comes from inside the house and the pressure comes from outside. So I ended up, the funny thing is they connected me to my senator, but it was not my actual senator. It was another senator, but I still and I know that senator, so it was kind of funny, but of course he didn't answer the phone. It was a staffer. And I'm like, can you just make sure that he votes for that bill if it comes up on the floor, and tell him to get it together. So there are people in this state that are doing the work, trying to get people to call their legislators or their senators to tell them to move forward with this. And again, Democrats have to stop being scared of the unknown. In this case, we do have a Supreme Court that is majority Republican, but the bill also has some levers in it where they can confer with the Supreme Court to determine if this is going to work. There's also a ballot measure for 28 and 30. Do we want to keep this on this map the way it is configured, like with this new map, or do we want to go back to the old map? So they are trying to do this. It's literally one seat that we could gain. But I think to myself, what if it comes down to a one seat majority and you idiots didn't even bother to move forward with this bill? Again, I need you to own this with your votes. You have to go vote for this. You cannot just
Mhm.
on it. And Bill Ferguson is like, well, we have other priorities. Okay, well then schedule the day where you're going to vote on this. There's only but so many days of session. We have a June 23rd primary.
Right.
Again, this is the part about being engaged locally. Because yes, I will take my behind to Annapolis and stand out in the cold and tell this man to move forward with this bill. I don't think it's fair for us to not vote on it. Debate it, vote on it. And like I said, if they decide they don't want to move forward and they have valid reasons, I'm willing to listen to it. But also, not taking a vote is cowardly, in my opinion.
Very, very much so. And I appreciate you giving us that update. And, like in our, good trouble chat, I love hearing about the various things going on in different states. And that is really, truly, my thing is civic engagement. And wherever you are locally, you need to be engaged. You need to know and understand what's going on. Like every, state has elections for, their congressional representative, but sometimes you might have more going on. Like I have a governor's race and we have a mayor's race and those things. And those are the people who are impacting your life most directly. Those are the people actually that you have access to most, like you could have a conversation with them or their staff. And because they need your votes to get in there, trust me, they're going to be listening. I was the person who was taking those calls in the mayor's office and talking to them and relaying information to him. And it matters to them. They need to know that you care. They need to know how you feel about things. So I am always encouraging people to get involved, first of all, to know what is going on in your local community and races. And you don't have to love politics, but what you have to understand is that it's impacting your life. And so you can either choose to let other people make decisions about that, or you can be actively involved in this, helping to decide those decisions and find ones that are going to be in your community's best interest. But all of the fighting and crazy stuff, like I feel like people have more energy to give to online stupid shit than they'd have to give to
Oh,
actual
absolutely.
in real life things that are going on that matter, that make an impact, which is again why, like I said, I'm also involved in Blue Tennessee, which is an organization designed to help fund Democratic candidates running for state houses. And like, we haven't made a huge impact, but we're making some. And sometimes the impact that you make is not always like life changing, and it's a over time type of thing, because they didn't gain the Republicans didn't gain the majority here overnight, but they got a big boost in 2010 when Obama was in office, and they learned some things with their red map thing using some AI stuff. They got a lot of it, but we have tools and we have smart people and candidates, and people just have to want to be involved in their government, in their governance,
Exactly. No, for sure. Look, they flipped that seat in Texas, right? Of all places, no one thought this person was going to do that, and they did it. We have flipped other seats, so there is possibility of doing it. Like you said, people have to get up off their ass and actually be engaged, and the candidates have to go and meet the voters where they are, and this is a whole process. But honestly, just listening to people, just I mean, we have a show. I have a show on Wednesday where we talk about all these things, but we actually know what we're talking about. See, this is the problem.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that are out there that don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they just go off of vibes and how they feel. We actually present facts. We are on the ground. We're talking to people, and these are the people that I want people to listen to, not people that just have a high follower count who just say reckless things and do not have any receipts to back it up. And I'm getting tired of it because I'm tired of having to correct the
Right.
stupidity.
And they're just going off of vibes and feelings and
Who
people who
care about,
entertain.
like, exactly. We're done with feelings. With
Yeah, and entertaining. Don't, politics don't have to entertain you, okay? But they need to contain facts. And the fact that we are in deep in an information war that is being waged by our current administration, already making it more difficult for people to have access to information. I mean, they already took the funding away from like NPR, PBS, and those types of things. And, they put a Trojan horse there into CBS, and, God knows what that's looking like. They've had Fox for as their propaganda horn for a long time, but they may not have the others as, like horns like Fox, but what they don't do is to report facts. They suppress stories, or they both sides things. So people are not actually getting informed. And I think that it is Jefferson, I can't remember the exact quote, one of the founding fathers, who actually said, like, that is why the free press is in the Constitution, because we are a representative democracy. And in order for people to be able to discern and decide about their representatives, they need information. Okay. And so they're cutting off our sources of information. So it's incumbent upon every citizen and individual to find your own trusted sources, not just vibes, not just people who are entertaining you, but people who are giving you facts. And I mean, and sometimes that can be done in an entertaining way. And I'm not saying there's not a
we,
place for that.
I mean, there is, and I think that also helps. The two things have to be coupled together.
Hmm.
You cannot just, it cannot just be, okay, well, I'm just going to say whatever I want. There has to actually be some facts behind it, and I think Kenny actually does a really good job of doing that with his
That's the thing. I love him.
all his foolishness that he does, that it's actually engaging for people, and it kind of I don't like it makes it more realistic and more fun because politics should not be. It doesn't have to be boring.
No.
Some people for some people it's just okay. Just tell me who the candidates are. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go. But as a person like you and I who are engaged, I have had plenty of good events that I've gone to. I have had many talks. We are invested in this. It is
Mhm.
something that we care about. But like I said, when you don't appreciate us, it's really hard to want to continue that grind for free, right? A lot of it is for free.
Exactly.
We don't have the backing that a lot of these
We don't I don't have a team like Tiff knows. When I came on, I was
the
just
struggle
talking
is
about like,
real. We don't have producers and all this other stuff to do our shows. This is us wanting to be able to spend our Fridays every other Friday with you guys to be able to have conversations and kind of hear what's going on. And I hope that it is beneficial for people, but it just we do it because we care. It's not because we have to do it. We could be going shopping, you know what I mean? Like there's other
yes.
things to do, like I'm
I
about
could be
to have.
crafting, which is my real love. I love making stuff, so
I mean, I'm going about as soon as we get off here, I'm going to happy hour. Like you have to also decompress all of this stuff that is happening, and talking about it is helpful. Go do your normal life. Like they said, go touch grass and get
yes.
out and do stuff because we're not gonna. And I think it was Carrie that said you can't let them steal our joy. And it's true. We cannot allow people to steal our joy, although some days are harder than others.
Mm,
But
I'm telling you.
them to do that. So I think, I hope you guys go and have a great weekend and enjoy, your family and friends and do something and get out the house.
Absolutely. And if you're not following Candidly Tiff and I on Substack, please do so. And we both have our YouTube channels. Please follow and subscribe there as well. And as Tiff said, she has a weekly live with the fabulous Too Raw, Too Real Kenny and Zach, the Zactivist. And they are always, wonderful together. And of course, Kenny's gonna cut up. They make it fun, but it's always based in facts, and they put a little culture in there too. So tell them about that.
We have a little color commentary in there every now and then. I mean, like I said, politics can't just be just talk about fact, fact, fact. We also need to have a little bit of fun. So it's a different vibe than this show, but I always enjoy talking to my guys because they love messing with me and I love messing with them. So it's like I said, we have to do the work, but I really do hope that people go and have a good weekend.
Absolutely. And you guys can find me every Monday on Spoutable in the Good Trouble chat, which I've been having for a long time. As Steph said, at one point it was every day, but I don't have the energy for that anymore. So on Mondays at 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, come join us over on Spoutable, and on every other Friday when I'm not chopping it up in Fired Up Friday with Tiff. You can find me also on Spoutable in the evenings in discussions, and that's kind of a different kind of group of folks and conversations, but it is really a deep dive into those uncomfortable conversations that I think it is important for us to have. So we dig a lot into history, focusing on white supremacy and Christian nationalism. So I hope to see your face in the community and the crowd. I hope you will support us however you can. If you can't become paid subscriber, please just subscribe and share our work. I don't put any paywalls up in any of the stuff that I do, but I just want to thank you guys for hanging out here with Tiff and I this Friday. And as she said, wishing you all just a wonderful, fun weekend. Try to find those moments of joy. I am going to go do some crafting with my essential oils. I'm going to lean into that because the smell, aromatherapy, it always makes me feel better. So,
Gary, when is our live on Wednesday? So it's Wednesdays at 10 p.m. We won't be on this week. Hopefully be back next week because the guys are going to be on Capitol Hill, so or somewhere in DC. So we won't have a show this week, but it's usually 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays on on YouTube.
All right. Well, until
Welcome.
next the next Fired Up Friday, we hope you all continue to stay informed, stay engaged, and happy Black History Month, and keep sharing our history. All right. Take care, guys. Bye bye.